Okay, so I think we are live here. Just testing the audio. Thanks for joining us. We will be starting in just a few minutes. If you haven't, as often as usual, if you're joining us after the fact, you can just skip ahead a couple minutes. We're just giving some people some time to join the live broadcast. So we will be going live again in a few, just about 2 minutes or so. And yeah, but I thank you all for joining us. A couple people already getting in here. Well, while we're waiting, might as well let you know. Let's see here. Just kind of go over some basic stuff here. I want to thank Yankee Bookstore for being our sponsor for the History Chats program. Their contribution, their support of our programs, as well as the support of all of our members and donors, make it possible for us to do this. So a big thanks to them. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, you can kind of set that up. Let us know. We can certainly add to your list. We do quite a bit of these programs once a week, as well as some bigger programs all year round. So it's a great opportunity to support local history as well as some. Yeah. And let's see. Also, while we're waiting, let me just plug something coming up, not this weekend, but the next weekend, the final weekend here in February, our second History Speaks of the year. This is going to be on the Wausau Winter Frolics. It's a winter sports carnival that went basically from 1927 and then in various forms off and on until the 90s. So it's going to be kind of a fun jaunt through the history and some of the winter sports activities of the community. And we'd love for you to join us. Again, that's not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, the last Saturday in February at 2 o'clock. So if you're interested in joining us for that, please do come up. But yeah, let's, I think we're about that time here. So I'm going to have Gary join us. I'm going to bring Gary Gisselman, our librarian and historian here. And he's going to tell you all about Mr. Ringle. So with that, I'll take it away.
Thank you, Ben. So today we're going to talk a little bit about John Ringle. You see his name scattered throughout the county in a variety of different ways, and you most likely are seeing his bricks still to this day. So we're going to talk a little bit about John Ringle and what he was all about. A little bit of his history. Evidently, he had a large impact on this the city, on the town of Ringle, on the village of Ringle, on a variety of things throughout our history. So we're gonna do a little bit of that this afternoon. We start with John Ringle. He was born in the town of Herman over in Dodge County in 1848. At 11 years old, he came with his family to Wausau. His father was also heavily involved in politics at that time, so we'll talk a little bit about that with John also. He was educated in Wausau school. John Ringle was educated in Wausau schools, and there's a picture here of the old white school on 4th Street. So he was educated really early and a big part of the Wausau school system really from day one. He married a little bit about John Ringle himself. He married Augusta Engel in 1872. Went on to have 9 children. He then married Louise and Augusta later on. Three wives. And in 1877, he built this house at 114 Grand Avenue. You may It's still there. You can see this. It's the first house on your right as you go down Grand Avenue from the courthouse. So it's been there since 1877, one of the finer Italianate style houses in the city. Although the house had some modifications through the years, they were very sympathetic to the original design of the house. And after a recent survey of historical architecture in the city, it was determined that this indeed would be eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. So it is a unique house unto itself, but also a house that graced the families of John Ringle since it was built in 1877. We want to, as soon as he graduated from school, he soon entered public life, first as a deputy county clerk, and in 1873, he was elected to the post of county clerk. Like I said before, his father was heavily involved in county politics already as soon as they came to Marathon County. This is the courthouse that graced the 400 block as we know it today, one of our early courthouses in the city. Again, John Ringle, county clerk, taking a very active role, again, early in his life, in the political life of the city. But as he continued to live in Marathon County, he soon navigated that he was going to purchase some land. So he soon started to invest in some land to the east of Wausau, what we now know as the town of Ringle. And you can see in this map of 1882, John Ringle was already very early starting to invest in some land in the eastern part of Marathon County. Along with, again, we can see that this was heavily wooded, the Kellys, and John Ringle soon decided that he was going to be building a sawmill there. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But again, John Ringle soon became heavily involved not only in county politics, but also in state politics as a Democrat. We see that a lot of the German population in Marathon County and central Wisconsin was drawn to the Democratic Party. And that's another story that we can talk about someday. But again, he ran for the Democratic nomination for state treasurer soon. So he threw himself into politics very early, not only, like I said, county, but also as well as state politics. Locally, he was elected to the Wisconsin Assembly in those years, 1879, 1880, and 1881. And then he won election to the Wisconsin State Senate in 1882, serving through 1886. So he was not only a local person, but he was starting to take on a state stature, being involved with a variety of state issues in Madison. He was highly regarded as a Wisconsin state legislature from Marathon County. Back in Wausau, again, he heavily involved. He was elected mayor in 1884, during which time the Wausau Waterworks were established. And this was sort of a key statement for John Ringle, because he was very determined when he was mayor that he was going to have the Wausau Waterworks as a municipal utility. There were efforts to make it a private entity in those days, but John Ringle was quite insistent that it become a Wausau utility, and it is continuing to be through the years a Wausau utility. Again, he was elected mayor in 1912 and 1914. And again, he was lauded for his efforts to pave Scott and Washington Street. Strong efforts in those early days to start paving the streets of the city of Wausau. This is an early picture of the Wausau Waterworks. Close to the river, this building is not there anymore, but this is the early picture of the Wausau Waterworks that John Ringle was really intent on making a Wausau utility. Then I want to just come back a little bit to the town of Ringle, to the east of Wausau, and John Ringle, some of John Ringle's land. You can see that he was starting to make a little bit of an impact along the lakeshore and Green Bay Railroad, and specifically the little community of Ringle was starting to take shape. Ringle built his sawmill in 1889, and within a few years he had found a vein of clay, and of course the rest is history. This little community then quickly moved from a sawmill community along this railroad to a very large growing community. And I did make a mistake. It's eventually became the Chicago Northwestern Railroad coming in from Eland to the western part of Marathon County. So this is Ringle in 1900, starting to grow, and the clay and the bricks would start to make a great impact on this community. This is a map of the town of Ringle in 1930, and you can see that it's starting to grow a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few more minutes. But it was the Ringle, it was the brick. It was the Ringle brick that perhaps continuing to this day that we remember John Ringle by, in addition to, of course, the town and the village of Ringle. But it was the Ringle brick that put him and Ringle on the map. He built a very, very large brick factory in Ringle. This is an early picture of one of the stacks there, and parts of the factory I understand are still there, but it had a major impact on Marathon County through those years. We several weeks ago we talked about the red granite of Granite Heights. Well, we can talk about the brick of Ringle as really putting Ringle and Marathon County really on the map. It was an important part or important resource of Marathon County for many, many years. And they really had a great influence on this community. Build it with brick, and with there were other brick companies in Marathon County, of course. But of course, Ringle, because of the great quantity and quality of the brick itself, perhaps is one of the reasons why we are familiar with the name of Ringle brick today. And they continue to grow. A little article in the newspaper saying that the Ringle Brick Company is making an enlargement to the plant that will increase capacities to 2 million brick per year. So, and I think they were up to 4 million eventually through the rest of the brick company's history. And of course, the brick was an important part of the building of Marathon County. This is the Marathon County Courthouse in 1897 built. And this is a colorized version. The black and white prior did not really speak to the great influence of the brick itself. But so this colorized version of the postcard gives evidence to the brick that was used in the Marathon County courthouse, where on the 400 block, as we know today, this courthouse was torn down in the early 1950s. And Ringle brick continued to be used throughout Marathon County and Wausau into the early 1930s, when the New Deal was coming in with some monies. We decided that we were going to expand Wausau High School, and Ringle brick thus was used as this northern extension of the high school on 7th Street. So again, a continual use of Ringle brick throughout many buildings in this city as well as this county. So here we have Ringle continuing to be an important part of our community here in Marathon County. And back in Ringle, so of course we have the village of Ringle, an early picture of the railroad depot, the railroads coming through. It was really important, just a side note on the railroad coming in from Eland, winding its way through to Wausau, found its way through Hatley, through Ringle, through Kelly, hitting those sawmill and those little villages that were an important part of the eastern part of Marathon County. So it was right there, right on the railroad, a key little village. Sawmills first, then of course the clay bricks. And it continued to grow, little village scene, earlier parts of the 1900s. And it had its schools, the public schools, of course. It continued to be an important little village in like I said, in Marathon County. Sort of in conclusion, John Ringle died March 15th, 1923. I just want to read, he was really, this is just really a short little synopsis really of John Ringle's life. He was really important parts of a variety of different elements of the life of Marathon County, mayor, the brick factory founder, and a variety of other things. But as part of his obituary, the local paper said, Mr. Ringle surely gave us a remarkable record of public service, and it was all conscientious, able, diligent service, marked by patriotism, devotion to principle, and duty and loyalty to Wausau and Marathon County. In all the years of his activity, there was never a measure proposed that was meant to promote Wausau's interest commercially, educationally, or in any other way that did not find John Ringle ready to give it his energetic support. And I think that we'll see that John Ringle, first coming to Wausau as a young person, growing up, seeking political life, seeking the life of a brick maker in Ringle, a very distinguished life of one of these people that we think you should know in Marathon County. And today, of course, Ringle is still there, still a vibrant village in the town of Ringle, and we are still part, so which is a testament to to John Ringle naming this little village. Also, the town of Ringle. I think Ringle is the only John Ringle is the only person that has not a village as well as a town named after him. A very important person in the life of this, as well as the city of Wausau, the village of Ringle, as well as Marathon County. So with that, we conclude. I hope you enjoyed the little program. So it's one of the people that we feel you should really get to know. And John Ringle is, I think, a key player in the life of Marathon County. So thank you, Ben. Back to Ben.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Gary. As Gary said, you know, another person you should know, next week, we're going to be, just to give you a little bit, we'll ask some questions here. If you have any, while I'm doing this, this is your opportunity to put any questions in chat, last chance here. But next week, so this week we're talking a lot about Ringle, who obviously left his mark and is somebody that, even if you didn't know who John Ringle himself was, you know, you probably heard the name, as Gary explained. Maybe less so with this next one. This is, we're going to be talking about Helen Stephenson, who was actually the first policewoman in Marathon County, the first person to be involved in law enforcement of, you know, for her gender. So that was a pretty interesting story. I hope you, you know, if you're interested in that, come back next week. Again, same time, 12:30 at on Thursday. So yeah. Anyway, let's see. So a couple of things were mentioned in the chat here. Sharon Cook asked, so do we know when the brickworks closed specifically?
I believe it closed in the 1940s.
Okay, in the 40s. And was that just any particular reason? Was that like the World War, or do we know?
I don't have an exact reason for that.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. Let's see. Chris Martins asked about how the bricks got shipped. So how you know they were made in Ringle, but obviously they were, you know, the bricks got put all over the county. So how was that? There was like a railway. Would that be the way that they would do it?
But you know, by eventually by truck and also by railroad, of course. Ringle had the advantage of being served not only, but a major highway was coming through Ringle, as well as the railroad, of course.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's see here. Well, Tim Ballman mentioned that John Ringle was an uncle to his great-grandfather, Robert Ringle. I was wondering if there's any Ringles still around. Glad we got some family here. Let's see. I don't know if this is a question that you can speak to, but it's an interesting question. Have any of our like the masonry repair people been able to like say give an insight in terms of the characteristics of Ringle brick as opposed to other brick structures out there?
Well,
sources.
Well, I know that it's. I think it's quite durable. I think, you know, because I think we can still see Ringle brick today. One sidelight with regard to that is the house on Grand Avenue. Some people assume that was made of Ringle brick, but of course that was built several years earlier. That house was built several years earlier than when John Ringle discovered the brick out in Ringle. So that house is not basically made of Ringle brick.
There are plenty of other structures, obviously, that
but I think that
still have them. Yeah,
I think that the structures still are here today. So I think it's quite durable. Yes, indeed. And I think the unique color of that clay, the unique color of that brick, I think also stands out and makes it quite unique.
Yeah, sure. So there's another, well, so Chris Martins asked if there are still remains of the brickwork there today. Also, so Colleen had mentioned that family had bought the Ringle Brickyard, but it burned down. But you showed some pictures, I think from like the 70s or what have you, of structures still kind of there in parts?
In parts.
Okay. All right. Well, Scott Peterson mentioned that he missed it, so wants us to start over. Unfortunately, fortunately for Scott, the recordings of this and all of our History Speaks and History Chats are still available on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. So you can always go back and look at that. Maybe this is a good enough time to leave it here. Usually the recordings of this, I'll edit it down, just kind of the technical errors or whatever, and kind of a shorter version of it. So if you're ever, looking for some history, you can go to our YouTube page and see all that stuff there. But yeah, I think maybe it's a good place to leave it. Thank you, Gary. And thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we will see you back next week for another person you should know, Helen Stephenson. Yeah.
Thank you.